regular governing board meeting of the Jefferson Elementary School District for April 24th, 2019. And I want to report out a closed session that action was taken to approve the comprehensive school safety plans for 15 of our school district sites. These plans were developed in partnerships with local law enforcement and include tactical response actions and protocols. The vote was 4-0. Those voting in favor was Ms. Liagi Anuai, Ms. Maybell Manio, Ms. Marie Brizuela, and Mr. Clayton Koo. There was none opposed. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance, led by winners from the 2019 District Spelling Bee.
Place your right hand over your heart. 1, 2, 3, go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item is item 9, governance team meeting guidelines. Governance team members will review the governance team member guidelines and report how well they adhere to the meeting guidelines at the end of the meeting. So next is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous. Next, 11A, special presentations. Vivian Forte, teacher at Fernando Rivera Intermediate School and district facilitator for the Spelling Bee, will introduce the 2019 Spelling Bee grade level winners and the district Spelling Bee champion.
Good evening to our board and to our administrators and also to our audience. I'd like to invite up our finalists and champion for this year's Spelling Bee to come to the front, and then I can introduce them one by one. So if all of you come up. Why don't you stay here because you're a fourth grade winner first. So first here we have Amanda Cardoza. She's coming from Westlake Elementary School, and her winning word was elite for the fourth grade round. So great job. Next we have Joshua Lee from MH Tobias. His winning word was Soviet for the fifth grade round. Next, representing sixth grade and FDR, we have Ashley Anacleto. And her winning word was futon. For seventh grade, from Benjamin Franklin, we have Taiga Nishida, and his winning word was rhinoceros. For eighth grade, we have Nadia Shah from Fernando Rivera, and she won 2 rounds, since she's also our overall champion. From the 8th grade round, her winning word was apostrophe, and for the overall champion round, her winning word was anomaly. Wow. all of you could turn around also and face our board members. And one last round of applause for our finalists and our champions. Thank you very much.
Before we give certificates, do our board members have any?
Wait, yeah, have them stay up here. Don't go away, everybody. I mean, contestants.
Do our board members have any kind of comments before we present certificates?
Just basically to say thank you and congratulations. We always talk about the difficulty in standing up and public speaking, but then the pressure to compete against your peers just compounds that level of stress, I'm sure. But being here tonight, we're here to celebrate each of you and all of your families that are here to celebrate with us. So just a huge congratulations to you and all of your teachers that have supported you to get here tonight. Thank you.
I just want to say congratulations to you all. We're all very proud of you, I'm sure, as your family and teachers as well. So congratulations.
Almost the same thing. Oops, now you can hear me. I'm going to say about the same thing. Thank you so much and for studying hard, the list of words that you got, for coming forward in front of everybody, and especially all your teachers from all the levels that have been teaching you, and for your parents, because we're very proud of you. And thank you so much for coming tonight. So we have something for you in a few minutes, but to say you guys are the best. Thank you so much for being here, and keep up the good work, okay? Okay.
And I'll keep it short. Just want to extend my congratulations. All of us are extremely proud of all you guys, as well as all the participants for the spelling bee this year.
You want to say anything? Wait, I think,
As everyone said, congratulations, and once again, congratulations to your families as well. And I look forward to seeing you back here again.
So we also have some certificates to present to the 2019 district winners.
only one each, right? It's the same?
So this is a certificate of achievement, and this certificate is awarded to Amanda Cardoza for outstanding achievement in the 2019 spelling bee.
This is also a certificate of achievement for Joshua Lee for the outstanding achievement in 2019 spelling bee, as well as a certificate of appreciation for the flag ceremony.
And this certificate of achievement is for Taiga Ishida for outstanding achievement in the spelling bee and also for the flag ceremony.
See, I think this is the same thing. Certificate of achievement awarded to Ashley Rain and, did I say it right? And Hood. Okay, so this one, the first one we have for you is for outstanding achievement in the spelling bee. Congratulations. And the next one is the same for you again, and it will be for participation in the flag ceremony. Thank you for coming.
And lastly, I have the certificate of achievement for outstanding achievement in 2019 spelling bee and for the flag ceremony, as well as our 2019 district spelling bee winner, Nadia Shaw. Congratulations again, and can we give them a round of applause as well? You guys can take a seat now. Next item is item 12, public hearing. 12A, public hearing for the 2019-2020 AFT Local 3267 contract proposal. A public hearing will be held to receive public input on the AFT Local 3267 contract proposal for the 2019-2020 school year. AFT is proposing to open negotiations on Article 2, wages, and Article 12, special education. I have some speaker cards here. If you'd like to make a comment, please feel free to take a speaker card in the back and present it to someone in the front, and you will be able to speak. The first speaker is Elaine Francisco, special education teacher for the school district.
Hi.
Good evening, everyone. Elaine Francisco, AFT 3267. I come to you tonight not only as a teacher, but also as a longtime Daly City resident. In 2012, we passed Measure I, a bond measure that is supposed to provide our district with $67,500,000 to spend towards technology, energy efficiency, and classroom maintenance. I recall the estimated energy cost savings was about $300,000 per year. In 2016, our teachers, with our family volunteers, heavily campaigned for the passing of Measure T, our district's 9-year parcel tax. The Daly City community were informed that voting for Measure T would partly help our district retain and attract highly qualified teachers. I actually opened my home for phone banking in order to support both of these measures and personally mobilize volunteers to help us win. Having those two temporary but stable revenues, I call on each and every one of you to provide an immediate and equitable solution to the need to increase the salaries of our teachers. I ask you that you please allocate a percentage of the revenue we receive from Measure T and the energy savings we get from passing Measure I to go towards teachers' salaries and benefits. If this has already been done, I sincerely thank you. I, along with around 15,783 homeowners in Daly City, will continue to pay the $68 parcel tax for the next 7 years. The total estimate revenue from Measure T is projected to be over $1,200,000 per year. On behalf of the Daly City voters, I urge each and every one of you to please deliver on that promise that the money coming from Measure T will be used to retain and attract highly qualified teachers. We need to give our hardworking teachers what they deserve. Thank you.
Next speaker is Lisa Robinson, teacher.
I'm covering that number thing because it scares me. Hi, my name is Lisa Robinson, and I have had the honor of teaching second grade at Susan B. Anthony Elementary School and in this district for 20 plus years. I have a master's plus 90 credits, which, as some of you know, puts me way down and way across on the salary scale. So since I began 20 years ago, my rate of pay has increased by 131%. That sounds awesome. However, in the past 20 years, I've also lived in San Francisco, where my rent began at $500 a month, and my rent is now $1,660 a month due to the dream that is rent control. That increase is 232%, which, if you have done the math, is 101% more than what I've gotten here. I have never gotten a COLA, which is cost of living increase, and if I have the misfortune of getting kicked out of my apartment, which when I was home with my foot, the assessors came in, so that's obviously on the horizon. My average pay for rent in my district would be $3,250, which is a 550% increase from when I first moved there. If I have to move, I have to leave my district, which I love. So that is unfortunate for me. Also, we got a kindergarten closed in my school, so I have to move to a different grade next year, which makes me really sad. Thank you.
Next speaker is Natalie Chaqua, fifth grade teacher at Susan B. Anthony.
Good evening. My name is Natalie Jaka. I've been teaching for 32 years. I have 32 students in my fifth grade classroom. I used to love teaching, but the stress and anxiety of working in the Bay Area has made me very unhappy. I live in a one-bedroom apartment. This month, my rent went up $100. This is the second time this year. My rent is more than half of my monthly pay. I have the same amount of spending money now as I did 10 years ago. Is this my reward for teaching for 32 years? Living like I did my first year teaching, only being able to do things that are free. I have no extras. There's nothing left to cut. This year is the first year I did not have a second or third job. I had faith that we would get a bigger raise. Also, I'm old and tired. A second job makes me a horrible teacher. I have less time for planning, less time for sleep, less energy to give to my students. I suffer, and my students suffer. There is a family at our school who heard we only got 1%. They bring us food every week. Potatoes, carrots, onions, because they know we are suffering. If you need creative ways or good ideas to help the district cut or save money, ask them. They all know how to save and crimp and make everything happen with very little. We can't live on a 1% raise. Thank you for your time.
Next speaker card is Paul Hagan, president of AFT 3267, as well as a teacher at Benjamin Franklin Intermediate School.
Good evening, Paul Hagan, President AFT 3267, and I'm here again. Once again, I'm before you asking that you direct the district's administration to budget a respectful salary increase for the employees of JESD. I suppose I should say that I speak for the certificated employees of the district, but the truth is at the bargaining table, we are aware that whatever salary increase we negotiate will be the salary increase the classified employees and the certificated administrators receive as well. So in essence, I believe I am speaking for the employees of JESD on this topic. When we meet for contract negotiations on Friday, the district team, hopefully, will be presenting or offering what it is that you, the governing board, directs them to offer. And you know, I don't know what to tell you anymore. I suppose I could tell you about a single mother that I work with, single mother with 2 children. Her application, she needs to move. She can't afford where she's living. Her applications for an apartment for she and her 2 children have been denied for insufficient income. I could tell you, I suppose, about another teacher I work with, incredible teacher, single, in his mid-30s. I talked to him the other day and he said, I wonder if I'm ever going to be able to live without roommates. In his mid-30s. I know you care. Wait a minute, I skipped a paragraph. I could tell you that for the first time in my 30-plus years working in JESD, when young teachers ask what they can do, you know, so yeah, come to the board meeting, show solidarity, wear red, help us out. But now, I'm also saying, you got to keep your eye on Adjournment. you're going to have to go where the money is, because that's what they're doing. And I can't say I blame anybody. As much as I love working in this district, and I've made it my career, you can make $8,000 or more driving 15 or 20 minutes down the peninsula, then God bless you, take it. I know you care, and I know that you wish you could do more, and I know that you feel that your hands are tied. I understand that. But I don't see any bindings. These ropes that your hands are tied with are invisible. You know what I'm saying? Maybe your hands aren't tied at all. I think there's a boogeyman. I think there's a boogeyman that scares you. I think it's called the boogeyman of the out years. I think the boogeyman of the out years has convinced you that your hands are tied. The money is there. You just got to ask the right questions. And you need to stop being afraid. These people work really, really hard. You know that. I want to be preaching to the choir. It's your call. Thank you.
So that was the final speaker card. Are there any other speakers on this item? Seeing none. So I also forgot to note that public hearing opened at 7:18 p.m. and it's closing at 8:20 or 7:28
Is
p.m.
the public hearing only for them to speak?
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so we can't say anything? We can't? Let's see. So, okay. Is it on the agenda? Yes. Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Okay. Next item is item 12B, public hearing for the Jefferson Elementary School District's counter proposal to AFT Local 3267. A public hearing will be held to receive public input on the school district's counter proposal to AFT Local 3267 for the 2019-2020 school year. JESD is proposing to reopen negotiations on Article 2, wages, Article 3, hours of employment, and Article 6, health and welfare. I will open the public hearing at 8 or 7:29. Are there any speaker cards on this item? Seeing none, I will close it at 7:29 p.m. Okay. Next item is item 13, communications. 13A, board member acknowledgement and commendations.
So is this item someplace else? Are we not able to speak on this? Oh, I would like to say something. Thank you all for coming today, because I think each one of us heard you very clearly. And we will, I'm sure, at least I'm going to speak up on some of this that was discussed today. So if that's how it is, we don't get to speak at this time.
We have board member comments right now, so that's what we're on.
Oh, okay, so that's
where I'm
okay.
at now.
I just want to make sure that I don't get told I spoke out of turn. Yes, thank you for coming. I think all of us heard you clearly. Is Elaine Francisco still here? She left? I think that she brought something to our attention that maybe we can direct our administration to look into. And I just think that this is a big issue. We don't want to lose our teachers. We don't want you to leave. I think we need to really look clearly at what is available, and we can't take a chance. And that's all I can say. I'm one person. I can't promise you anything, but I would like to see something done, because I just don't like it when I hear teachers are leaving. We're here to train you. We don't want to lose you. And those who have been here a long time deserve to have something as well. So we all heard you. I just had to say something. So thank you very much for coming. And you are the cream of our crop. Okay, we appreciate everything. The many classrooms I've gone to and many events that I've attended to see what the children can do. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. And I think we need to do some real thinking about what we can do to help you guys out. At least try. Okay, that's it.
Excuse me, I agree with Trustee Bruzuela. I was about to sit here and talk about all the events that I've been to in the last 3 weeks, which there were plenty, but after hearing the sentiments of our staff and teachers, this is something that deserves a deep dive and something that we're all going through together. I know that you may not feel that, but we do. And we hear you. So with that, I did, Bernie, is it okay? Want to announce that we are having a first-time homebuyer workshop with HEART, H-E-R-T, a nonprofit that is here to see if they can help you with down payment assistance and closing costs. And they have funds for that. It's a non-governmental agency, so they're not as strict. That's at our district office, 101 Lincoln, on the 23rd of May. 21st of May, Tuesday at 3:30. And the high school district is invited as well for all of our staff.
Thank you. It was difficult not to feel everything that was shared this evening, and thank you, Paul, for reminding us about being transparent and working with integrity. And I know I've shared at many meetings, I take great pride in serving with my fellow colleagues because I really do believe that that's what we do. And as you've heard the sentiments of my other colleagues, we feel everything you're feeling. I have kids that are a product of this district, and it's sad to hear these stories. It's an unfortunate truth that we're all facing, not just the teachers, but it's felt throughout. But what I can say as an individual and as a member of this community is that we will work hard to do everything we can within the boundaries that we're allowed to. And that's not to say that we're not going to revisit or visit the things that have been presented today. The difficulty that we have to be reminded of is that while this is on the agenda, it's not open for discussion at this time. But we're all human, and all I can say is thank you from the bottom of my heart as a parent and as a member of this community for all that is happening. It's hard not to cry. It's hard not to cry when you guys present your stories this evening. Because the last thing we want is to hear these stories of all that everyone's going through just to be here, just to be a part of quality education, public education. But the reality is the struggle is ever present. And I just want to say thank you for towing the line, for staying in the trenches, for keeping your heart in the work. And I want you to know that we're doing the same. We care about you, we want to keep you, and we understand that a lot of times that can't happen with what we're faced with, but just know that we hear you. We hear you. Thank you.
I want to echo the comments of my colleagues that we do hear you, and we do especially know what you guys are dealing with. I also want to acknowledge I've received a bunch of phone calls, emails from parents, teachers, people in the community expressing their concerns as well as the need to sort of ensure that our teachers get a livable wage. And I just want to make sure that that is acknowledged and that I have received it. Whether or not I was able to call you back or email you back, I just want to say thank you for all your feedback. And I think it's extremely important that when the community is active and when they actually have their voices present, it makes our community even stronger, and I think it makes our school district even better. Thank you. Next item is item 13B, correspondence and superintendent comments.
I have a couple pieces of information, actually timely pieces of information. I did receive correspondence this week, in fact, yesterday, at my home address, but it is very timely to a school district. Phil Ting is having a budget town hall. I think our staff and our parents and community need to be aware that Phil Ting is an assembly budget chair, and he sets the levels of funding recommendations for public schools. And we are completely dependent on the provision that the state provides for our school district. And we have an opportunity for him perhaps to hear some of these very same stories and to understand that California, being the 5th strongest economy in the world, still funds its schools at 41 out of 50 states. So I would hope to see many of you there. It's on Thursday, May 9th at 5:30 at 350 McAllister Street, which I believe is close to Civic Center, San Francisco. Check your mail, you probably have one too. The second piece is a presentation that I was fortunate to be a part of. A community member from the South Bay, San Mateo County, has started up an effort called Impact, and it's part of Educate Our State. And they have a website at educateourstate.org/impact. Some families and community members in Redwood City have started to mobilize using the tools and using the information that's listed there. They're advocating for two things. One is that schools be funded at a level that is appropriate so that schools can pay staff and operate programs. They're advocating, and they're raising the issue that we all knew and we all feel that $1 in Alpine County does not buy the same things that $1 in San Mateo County does. And when the state funds everybody equally across the state, regardless of region, districts and counties like San Mateo end up losing. One figure that she did the calculations, I have to check them, but she mentioned that if Jefferson Elementary was situated exactly as it was, same number of schools, staff, and everything, students, in one of the lower cost counties of California, it would be equivalent to about $12 million more a year in San Mateo County. That was astounding to me, that if our district were located in Alpine County or El Dorado County, that our district would have the equivalent of $12 million more of spending and buying power. And that's the reality that she worked it out for the cost of living for this area. So I think it's an interesting movement, something to keep an eye on. If there are folks in the community that want to join other members of the San Mateo County community to advocate for that, I would wholeheartedly support those efforts because it'd be wonderful to have $12 million more, but really if we just had $4 or $5 million more, we could do a lot with that. We don't need the full. We can do with a little bit more. So I think it's definitely worth looking at. You can find that again at educateourstate.org/impact.
Thank you. Next item is item 13C, persons wishing to address the board. This portion of the agenda is available for individuals to comment on or address the board on any issue that is under the board's jurisdiction and not on the agenda. The maximum time allowed for any speaker is usually 2 minutes. I have one speaker card, Pamela DiGiovanni.
Good evening, honorable board members. I know this is really short. Couldn't be here last time. I just wanted to say thank you to FDR for their fundraising and their PTO. PTA made a great fundraiser. It's really sad that they have to do that too for our schools and our teachers and our activities. And it's really disheartening to hear the sounds and the cries of our teachers in the community. And I was I'm out in the community. When I hear that word 1%, it really just gave me chills up and down my spine. And I know like even at the city level, we're trying to help our employees, but I say, look for that money. It's got to be there somewhere. It has to be there. Whether it's asking those that have it, if they would be willing to pass this time, the ones that really are making the monies, that these teachers are not. They're going to food banks. I have seen them at Second Harvest food banks. That is sad. That's like heartbreaking. And they're not there, they're a little, embarrassed or whatever. What are we doing? Teachers used to be revered in our community, and that doesn't show them much respect. And I appreciate trustees talking about our heart program, but unfortunately, the qualifications is for homes that are 700 to 900,000. I don't know about any of you, but I can't afford that. So I don't know where our heart program, even though the city, we try to help it and we got it back, but having a percentage down on a house at 700 $700,000 to $900,000, I don't see anybody in this room that can afford it. So that's really like very sad to me, to put them in there. But on the same note, I want to say that the children from JESD won these awards, and they won these awards last night on Monday night when they came to the council, because of the teachers in this room is a big part of it, and of course the parents. But the teachers, it was also Thomas Edison, it was the green team from Elaine Francisco, it was all these kids. And then one child even went to the Philippines and taught them how to recycle, take care of the earth. And these are the things that these people in this room are teaching, not just skills in a book. So when I heard it, I'm very heartbroken. And our Arbor Day thing for volunteering is at Gellert, 9 to 12 on Saturday. But this is a passion plea. I mean, dig deep and ask those that have it, can you pass this time so that they can stay here and teach the children more skills so they can keep coming to the council so we can applaud their efforts in our community. Thank you. This is the heartbeat of our community.
Thank you. Next item is item 14A, consent agenda. The administration recommends approval of the start items on the rest of the agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve that, all the start items, please.
Second.
There's a first and a second. May I please get a roll call?
Mr. Ali?
Aye.
Mrs. Brizuela?
Aye.
Ms. Manio?
Aye.
Ms. Leah Inga Anuai?
Aye.
Mr. Koo?
Aye.
Can
That was unanimous.
I just interrupt for a minute? Sure. I would like to ask, now before we get into all the rest of this stuff, is it possible for us to have a special meeting where we can discuss one issue only? This issue that we're faced with now? Can we have I'm asking the board, are you willing to give a day that we can sit and discuss this? Because I heard some pretty good ideas that we might be able to bring together with our administration and talk about it. Because right now, we're just sitting here. So at least I would like us to talk about it and devote our time, that this is important. Is everybody willing to do that?
So you just want a special meeting to
Just discuss the issue, look at,
budget or salary raises?
well, you can't do the raises till you look at
We
what the
can,
budget is. So
we can schedule a meeting that does that, yes.
So that, I heard some good suggestions out here. I would like to be able to look at those items. We'll give you the information of what we want, but let's look at everything so we don't say we can't do it. That's all we get. We get the budget.
Mrs. Brizuela, we will schedule such a meeting, yes.
Thank you. I don't have
Okay.
to say anymore?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And we'll let everybody know about the meeting so they can come, and it's not a closed session, it'll be open session. Okay, now you can go on.
Next item is item 14C, resolution number 19-04-24, National and California Day of the Teacher. The administration recommends adoption of resolution number 19-04-24, recognizing May 7th, 2019 as National Teacher Appreciation Day and May 8th, 2019 as California Day of the Teacher. Ms. Fidelis, do you want to give an overview of this item?
Yeah, so apparently California has to have their own Day of the Teacher, so we wanted to make sure, since we're a California district, that we acknowledge the California Day of the Teacher. I don't know if more needs to be said. Our schools are here because we have teachers. Without teachers, we wouldn't have schools, and that's what we're acknowledging.
I move that we accept resolution number 19-04-24 for National and California Day of the Teacher.
Second the motion?
There's a first and a second. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Ali?
Aye.
Mrs. Brizuela?
Aye.
Ms. Manio?
Aye.
Ms. Leah Inga Anuai?
Aye.
Mr. Koo?
Aye. That was unanimous. Next item is item 14D, resolution number 19-04-24A, National School Nurse Day. The administration recommends adoption of resolution number 19-04-24A, designating May 8th, 2019 as National School Nurse Day.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 1904-24A, National School Nurse Day.
Second.
First and a second to approve. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Ali?
Aye.
Mrs. Brizuela?
Aye.
Ms. Monio?
Aye.
Ms. Leah Inga Anawai?
Aye.
Mr. Ku?
Aye. That was unanimous. Next item is item 14E, Measure I Citizens Bond Oversight Committee Report. Members of this Measure I Citizens Bond Oversight Committee will present their annual report to the board.
Okay.
Good evening, President Koo, esteemed members of the board and administration. I'm the chair of the Oversight Committee, Rosie Tejada. As required by the statutes and bylaws of the Measures I and U bond election and Measure T parcel tax selection, the Citizens Oversight Committee is pleased to provide her annual report to the Board of Trustees of the Jefferson Elementary School District. Members of the committee are Tony Bayudan, Pamela DiGiovanni, Thomas Norris, Catherine Padilla, Kathy Pentazzi, Lillian Pena, myself, Rosie Tejada, Danny Vinculado, and Adrienne Zanini. On April 25th, 2018, the committee did not have a quorum. The committee was updated on the progress of current projects and no action was taken. On June 13th, 2018, the committee met to review current expenditures and discuss the progress of all phases of the Thomas R. Policeta School renovation project, as well as the district office modernization, the FDR new classroom and restroom wing, the Fernando Rivera new classroom and restroom wing, the Susan B. Anthony fencing project, the Benjamin Franklin gas pipe replacement, new play structures at Garden Village and Thomas Edison, the district office parking lot and security camera project at Thomas R. Policeta, and maintenance and operation facility. On September 12, 2018, the committee met to review current expenditures and discuss the progress of the Franklin D. Roosevelt new classroom and restroom wing, the Fernando Rivera new classroom and restroom wing, the Susan B. Anthony fencing project, new play structures at Garden Village and Thomas Edison, and security camera project at Marjorie H. Tobias, Benjamin Franklin, M. Pauline Brown, Thomas R. Policeta, and the maintenance yard. Rosie Tejada was elected by the committee to continue as committee chair for an additional year. Adrienne Zanini was elected to continue for an additional year as vice chair, and the committee tabled the election of secretary until the following meeting. On January 23, 2019, the committee met to review current Measure I expenditures and discuss the progress of the Franklin D. Roosevelt new classroom and restroom wing, the Fernando Rivera new classroom and restroom wing, the Benjamin Franklin and Garden Village fencing, security camera system, and the district office modernization project. Lillian Pena was elected as committee secretary. Additionally, the committee reviewed the annual independent financial and performance audit reports as presented by Joyce Peters, partner with Vavrenek, Trine Day and Company LLP. The committee was informed that the JESD Board of Trustees took action on October 10, 2018, to update the committee bylaws to include oversight of expenditures related to the JESD parcel tax, Measure T, passed by voters on November 8, 2016, and took action on December 12, 2018, to update the committee bylaws to include oversight of expenditures related to Measure U, GO bonds, passed by voters on November 6, 2018. The committee subsequently reviewed the Measure T parcel tax ballot language and then reviewed the 2017-18 expenditures to determine if they were in line with the Measure T ballot language. The committee then reviewed the Measure U GO bond ballot language and the related expenditures to determine if they were in line with the Measure U ballot language. On April 10, 2019, the committee met to review current Measures I and U expenditures and discuss the progress of the Franklin D. Roosevelt new classroom and restroom wing, the Fernando Rivera new classroom and restroom wing, the Benjamin Franklin Garden Village fencing, security camera system, and the central kitchen walk-in freezer projects. Based on our review and observations, the Citizens Oversight Committee finds that the district is in compliance with the requirements of Article 13A, Section 1B3 of the California Constitution and that measures I and U bond funds are being used for the purposes specified in the ballot languages. Additionally, the committee finds that the 2017-18 Measure T parcel tax expenditures are in line with the associated ballot language. The committee is pleased with the district's performance on the modernization bond program to date and looks forward to the successful completion of the 2019 projects. Respectfully submitted, Rosie Tejada, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments by my board members?
No questions, but I just want to thank our honorable trustee from the high school district for her continued leadership. You continue to do a great job, and that's why you continue to get selected as the chair. So thank you.
4th year.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Next item is item 14F, presentation from Communities in Schools and Peninsula Conflict Resolution Center. Representatives will share information about the community in schools and their plans to expand in San Mateo County to support schools and districts to create a network of community schools.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us. Good evening, trustees and Superintendent Vidales. It is our pleasure to be here this evening with you to present about the Peninsula Conflict Resolution Center and a program that we are, a model that we are trying to continue to saturate within San Mateo County, a national acclaimed model. So as you know, that you don't know actually, my name is Michelle Vilches. I am the Executive Director of the Peninsula Conflict Resolution Center. We are an organization that has been around for the last 30 years and 30 plus years actually, and believe it or not, I've been there for 20 out of the 34 years that we've been around. So we are an organization that is a communications conflict resolution organization. We are all about helping individuals to feel empowered and have a voice to build relationships and ultimately to reduce violence. And when we talk about violence, we're talking about it in its very broadest form. It's about health inequities. It's about connection to resources. It is about trauma and having the resources to connect families, their children, and the surrounding community to those resources. So for over 30 years, we've been providing a number of services that are really related to facilitating conversations and providing capacity building for individuals throughout San Mateo County. We serve and we provided an annual report for you along with the PowerPoint presentation so you can see a little bit about PCRC's history. But on an annual basis, we serve anywhere from 15 to 16,000 individuals in San Mateo County. We focus only on San Mateo County for this particular work, and we feel particularly passionate about schools and school communities. So a lot of the efforts that we have implemented throughout the years have been primarily focused on that institution. So many of you are familiar with our work, and we actually have worked in partnership with you. And we've had a presence within the Jefferson School District, I would say easily a good 18 years. We've showed up and conducted trainings and restorative practices and peer mediation and violence prevention and worked collaboratively with your teachers and administrators, your phenomenal administrators and teachers that are doing the good work, and worked collaboratively to support family engagement and parent cafes and student engagement and community involvement. So with that, we're super excited to share with you that we would like to present a new model in working that is being implemented throughout the nation, and we'd like to present this information to you. So my colleague, Gary Chapman, is here, who is the Vice President of Business Development for Communities in Schools, which is different than community schools. That in actually makes a big difference, and Gary will share a little bit more with you about that model.
Great, thank you, Michelle. Hi, thank you leaders so much for having us here today. I'm Gary Chapman. I'm a former principal and forever social worker and have worked with communities and schools for over 20 years. And I've really seen the power of what a community school model can do on the campus of a school and also within a school district. And PCRC is becoming a licensed partner of communities and schools and the work that we do across the country. And so we're excited to share that opportunity with you all today as communities and schools and PCRC expands in San Mateo County. So our work is really grounded in supporting students and providing them with a community of support, empowering them to stay in school and achieve in life. We do this by removing barriers. We free up teachers to teach and students to learn by removing the barriers that may be in the lives of the students that are coming to school. Maybe they're facing a lot of challenges outside of the classroom that are really hindering them from being able to be present and focus on their studies and what's going on in the classroom. So there might be issues around health, around mental health. There may be issues around just having caring adults in their life that can support them. Maybe there's trauma and anxiety and things that are going on. Even with the issues that we heard today, that affects students tremendously at home. And so we're there to really help champion the supports that they need. We've been doing a lot of work in Northern California recently to bring this model into the community, and I'll share more about what that looks like. But we've heard that there are lots of organizations already doing very good work here, like PCRC. So instead of communities and schools coming in like we would normally do in a state and establishing our own organizations, we are here to partner with existing organizations to help them to impact more students and implement the communities and schools model. The difference, as Michelle said, is the in. So we help to set up community schools on a campus, but that's by providing site coordinators, these really highly passionate and trained caring adults that are there to partner with school leaders to really make sure that the resources that are out in the community are brought to bear for that school, and that students that are in need of supports are really getting those supports. So we have a trained professional who works with school administrators to assess the needs on each campus, develop a plan, and build a team to provide supports to the school and to the students. And we really do that, again, by removing barriers for those vulnerable students on the campus. We leverage the evidence in the work that we do, the relationships that it takes to really make an impact, and the resources that are there to drive results for the most vulnerable students. This is our model that we have honed over the past 40 years. We work in 26 states and in DC and in over 2,300 elementary, middle schools, and high schools across the country. This starts with those caring adults that are placed on a campus, but it really leverages the power of the community and the resources that are out there. Also the resources that are in the school district already, and making sure they're really getting to students that need them the most. So we run this process annually on every campus that we're in, elementary, middle schools, in the case of Jefferson. So we do a needs assessment with that campus. We look at what school improvement plans are in place and what are the academic outcomes that school is looking to achieve. And we bring to bear the resources that are out there to help support students. And then we do a lot of planning work with the administrators and with the teachers on that campus to create a plan. Think about how do we want to drive forward on academics? How do we want to increase attendance, decrease chronic absenteeism? What are those things that are really holding the school back from being the highest performing that it can be? And then we integrate all of these student supports onto that campus. Those are those 10 categories that you see down here at the bottom, from academic assistance to basic needs to family engagement and life skills to mental health and physical health in particular. And we do that in this tiered intervention strategy where all students on the campus have access to these services. They're more of a prevention model. And then we go deep on targeted interventions with groups of students that are in high need on that campus. And then for kids that are really in crisis, we're there to case manage and really work alongside them and be their advocates and make sure that we're really removing those barriers that they're having to deal with outside of the classroom. We are monitoring that work and ensuring that the supports that are being provided are increasing attendance, they're increasing academic outcomes, they're decreasing any behavior issues that are happening on that campus, and ultimately raising graduation rates and promotion rates. So just briefly, as I said, we work all over the country. We work with about 1.6 million students now in 26 states and in DC, about 250,000 parents and guardians as well. And so we've really honed this model of having this highly passionate coordinator on a campus that leverages the power of the community and also volunteers that are out there to bring these resources onto each campus that we support. We work predominantly in high-need schools, so mostly Title I and Title I eligible schools is where we can make the biggest impact because we're really removing those barriers that surround our students in poverty. So we have terrific results to share. These are just some of the results in the slide deck on slide 16 for our case managed students that are receiving those intensive supports. So these are students that are highest need. 99% of them remaining in school, 93% are being promoted to the next grade level, 78% improve in attendance, 88% in academics, and 90% in behavior, things that I know are really important to your school district. Just briefly, we have 13 independent evaluations that demonstrate when you implement this community school model, you see fantastic results around graduation, around increases in attendance, improved academics as well. And again, a 40-year track record of this work that we want to bring into Northern California and into San Mateo County. In our elementary schools, in our last evaluation, where we compared CIS schools to non-CIS schools, we saw statistically significant improvements in average daily attendance for the students on these campuses, and also improvements in standardized test scores around English language arts. We also fit in with the federal legislation around ESSA and all of the changes that are there around bringing evidence-based programs onto schools to provide interventions. And so we fit the criteria, and many communities around the country are using their Title I dollars to bring in CIS supports into their school district. This is what the role looks like in many ways. You have met Michelle, who would be the face of communities in schools for San Mateo County, and particularly for your school district. We would have a program director that would oversee the work outside of the school district to be linking all of those community partners and also managing those coordinators that bring these resources to bear. These coordinators are not employed by the school district, they're employed by PCRC, and so they're an outside resource that are brought into that campus. Then, of course, the site coordinators on those campuses are extremely important in bringing all of these resources together and, again, ensuring that kids who need these supports get them the most. And then the school leaders are critically important. We have learned over these years that when we have a principal that gets it and understands the power of community and wants to bring in these partners, magic can happen on those campuses. So we would want to make sure that we have partnerships with principals that are really interested in this work. These are just some of the elements of the work and what it looks like and how we involve our school teams, from assessing the school need and drafting a plan for that campus, identifying data, particularly around non-academic challenges, social emotional learning and things like that that are on that campus. Forming and managing effective community partnerships. We know that this community is rich with resources. How do we bring them to bear on that campus? And then how do we implement and integrate these student supports on all three tiers: prevention, targeted interventions, and then case managing kids that are in crisis. So overall, thank you for your time today. This is the work that we're doing. We are really hoping to secure a partnership with Jefferson as well as a couple of other districts and begin planning over this next school year to implement this model and really help to support your work in raising student achievement on your campuses. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, thank you very much for that presentation, and I just want to acknowledge my good friend and colleague, Ms. Vilches. I actually did a lot of work through PCRC for many years in this county. A lot of it was more down south, wasn't too much up here in North County, but I'm glad to see you here tonight and to hear about this opportunity. I do have some questions though. So my first question is about those site coordinators. What are their qualifications? Because we actually, we are in the process of implementing a community school model in this district, and we have criterion that we're following. So I just wanted to hear a little bit more about the qualifications.
Sure. So we hire degree professionals into these roles. Many folks around the country are master level social workers that have these roles. About 35% of our coordinators are bilingual and would definitely be the case here to be able to support students on those campuses. We have had talks with the superintendent and the team here to know that you all have one campus where you're hoping to bring in a coordinator for that campus, right, and maybe have had some challenges in finding someone to fill that role. And so this might be an opportunity to partner where those resources PRC can use to leverage with other resources that we are fundraising for right now to bring in a coordinator for that campus and really implement this model that way.
All right, so you just spared me a few more questions. So I'm glad to hear that that's how you got here tonight. But I do have one more question about the studies. How do you determine that CIS is the reason why those outcomes are there? Because there's so many different interventions that schools and school districts are using to raise grades and improve behavior. So how can you justify those numbers and say it's CIS?
Yeah. No, it's an absolutely great question. So it was a comparative analysis that was done by an external firm who put that study together, and they compared very similar schools that had CIS with schools that did not have CIS, but other factors were still there. What did poverty look like? What did indicators for students look like? So we're happy to share that full study so that you can see it.
Okay.
But they really limited those factors so that they could determine that it was, particularly in high schools, 55 more graduates because of the work of CIS on those campuses.
Thank you.
Somewhere along the line, I saw something that said, for every dollar spent?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, what price tag does this come with?
Sure. Yeah. So, lot more to come on that, but what, so.
Not tell me today, but
Yeah.
tell me some.
Sure. So what we're hoping to do is secure about 50% of the cost for the work of CIS from the school district. And our organizations would be raising the additional components of that work. So this work that we do all around the country is really a partnership model, and it is about securing not only public but private dollars to implement this work on those campuses. And that's why we've been there for many, many years. So I believe the price tag right now that you all have set aside is about $80,000 for that campus. And so that kind of resource would help us to leverage the additional money to have a full-time person located on that campus.
School that we already have.
Correct.
Would that be because we're paying the salary?
You would be paying a portion of the salary, yes, for sure. So we lump all of that together. Like a total school cost is anywhere from, in the Bay Area, I would say $100,000 to $150,000 per campus. But that includes the oversight, the administration, the travel, the supplies, definitely a highly qualified candidate as well for that position. And then the training and support from our organization, the access to all of our resources, to our data management system that's used to track the outcomes. So all of that goes into that overall cost.
Additionally, I would say that, for those of you who are familiar with PCRC services, with any time we have placed staff at any school site, and we've had long-standing relationships with a variety of different districts, as many of you may or may not know, we see it as really an ambassador of PCRC's entire organization services. So for any additional services on top of that, on top of everything that Gary has described, you're talking about in addition to parent training availability, teacher training, student capacity building, community engagement, facilitation, mediation services, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really saturating that school community with services not only from CIS, but also PCRC.
So for every dollar you spend, we will be securing another $1 to $2 for that campus. So pretty significant ROI.
But thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
They got us too.
Well, I want to say thank you to you both for presenting to us this evening. I, like my colleague Ali, have worked with PCRC, and the reputation that you all have in the community is well-deserved. And it's no secret to us that we have been trying to get this model going, and the site coordinator has continued to be something we've been trying to figure out. What I love about this is that it's a partnership, and what I love is that you're able to share the cost and the resources that we'll have full access to. And additionally, as already mentioned, PCRC is a valid partner. CIS is a partner that we'd love to learn more about, and we appreciate the presentation. But the fact that PCRC thought you were a valid partner to bring on board, I think speaks volumes to their faith and confidence in what you're able to do. So the questions that I had, one of them was the one that Trustee Ali had asked. And for me, I just want to say that I appreciate the work that PCRC does, just continuing to be at the school sites. And I want to speak to the school sites because, I do see your staff that have these wonderful relationships with the schools that you currently serve. And I think that's a huge piece in this, is that relationship piece that we're seeking, and I think that that's what makes everything work at the sites. And I love that that is what PCRC has in the community. So really, I just want to say thank you, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to consider this.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions. We'll say thank you for the
Okay,
presentation.
thank you.
Great update. Yeah,
so
thank
much.
you.
Have a good evening.
Just a real quick comments here. So it's no secret that we've been down this path or tried to go down this path, several paths, and we've come across obstacles. And thank you, Ms. Leingano, for helping to connect us with communities and schools and PCRC partnership. After staff met with them, we just looked at each other and said, maybe this is why it was so hard to find the right person, because the right partnership hadn't come along yet. And I think we all felt like a partnership with PCRC and CIS could help propel us, perhaps even faster and more efficiently than we could by ourselves. And so it's all good and it all happens for a reason, but sometimes when you're in the middle of it, we don't understand it. So if it's okay with the board, I will continue in conversation with PCRC and CIS and see if we can determine something that seems doable. I did let them know that it's too bad they didn't show up 4 years ago when there was more disposable revenues, and that this is really the toughest time to ask a district to engage in a new partnership, and we discussed some possibilities of making that a little bit more doable. So we'll see what we can come up with, and we can come back to the board for approval of something that will move us forward in the goal that we want to achieve.
Comment, we leave this, is our goal was, first of all, the one school that we wanted to continue with, the one that we already said we want that to be a county school. Can we take care of that before we develop a larger plan? Because it's,
No.
now, that's a commitment we made a long time ago.
Correct. Yeah, but we're not going to drop that. Yes.
Let's just do that as we gather any information. I just don't want to see a total plan if it's going to not allow us to do what we also want to do to help the teachers.
Yeah, so the plan has always been to start with one school, but also to incorporate many other schools are along that path as well. We have at least 4 that are somewhere on that path, and we've written grants.
After we take care of our teachers. Sorry, my comment on it.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you to the superintendent for sharing that background information. And I want to thank Melinda Dart, who isn't with us this evening, because she continued to push community schools. And as was mentioned, we have struggled to make this work. So when this opportunity came with incredible partners that do this work already, where we didn't have to reinvent a lot of the pieces, and that those resources were now being facilitated by partners that are doing this great. For me, that was like, you know what? This doesn't take a genius or a rocket science to say we should at least listen to it and consider it. And so I do appreciate board colleague Brizuela's comments. I think it is important for us to visit what we had already stated to do. But I do want to say if we could couple that with what we're listening to this evening, because that, again, could be something that can be integrated. I just want to add that onto what's being requested, because it might not be a standalone item. It might be something that we can be considering to have this incorporated into that request, if that makes sense.
Looking at budget, yes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But of course, always with the side of ensuring that we're looking at our budget, and I know that we had a budget already allocated for this, so.
Yep.
But thank you again for your time. We appreciate it. Thank you. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the kids. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is item 14G, tentative agreement between the Jefferson Elementary School District and CSEA 233 for 2018-2019. The administration recommends approval of the tentative agreement and the MOUs for the 2018-2019 school year between CSE Local 233 and the Jefferson Elementary School District, pending AB 1200 approval by the San Mateo County Office of Education. The agreement, effective July 1st, 2018, includes a 1% salary increase on the salary schedule, a 1% one-time bonus, and MOUs on the effects of security cameras and GPS, new employee orientation, AB 119, and service contracts for maintenance and custodial substitutes. These agreements represent the conclusion of the 2018-2019 negotiations between CSEA Local 233 and the Jefferson Elementary School District.
I have a question on this one. Yes. What's service contracts for maintenance and custodial substitutes?
We've had a partnership with an organization that can provide us custodial and maintenance substitutes, since we are not able to secure them from our own pool. So it is a county-wide pool of workers who would come and fill in when our employees are not able to come to work and we don't have enough substitutes in our substitute pool.
So how do we,
Well, there is just some.
Or something, or?
There's just some language that we needed to clarify about when we would call for a substitute that is outside of our current substitute pool. That the union just wanted some assurances that we wouldn't be utilizing contractors to take care of regular work, and we were not. This is all substitute replacement work.
Okay, because contracts is the word I'm looking at. What contract are we going to have that we have to abide by? I'd like to see the information before we vote on something.
There should have been information in your backup material that describes this, and the board did approve a working contract, a working agreement with an outside agency to provide us substitutes last fall, I believe.
And how does that work?
It worked okay, especially during the summer. During the school year, we haven't needed to utilize them very much. But during the summer, more of our staff is on vacation. They're not here. Our schools need to be cleaned. We need people to help us with that.
Because we have an awful lot of issues and problems with the maintenance department that has not been addressed yet. So maybe we need to work on that before we go
And
any
this is
further.
primarily just a custodial issue here. Yeah.
Pardon me?
This is just for custodial subs at this point, that they haven't provided us any maintenance substitutes yet.
Okay, but it says both, and we still haven't received more clarification on what already has been transpiring in our maintenance department. There's an awful lot that's been happening. We need to either get that
Okay, for
agreed
right
to
now,
rest.
yes, right now we want to vote on this contract, on this amendment for CSEA, for
I
their
understand
raise,
this is,
yes.
yeah, but
So this is
part of
extra,
it.
what you're saying is extra, on top of what's on the
Oh, so
agenda.
it's different than
Yes.
that
Yeah,
is?
this is not, yeah.
Okay, we'll see how it goes. All right, sort of sounded the same language, except the word contract.
Yeah. Service agreement.
Substitutes.
This would be
Mm-hmm.
another word.
Mm-hmm.
We need them.
We do need a motion for this. They've been waiting for
Somebody else
several
make a
months.
That's true.
I'm not making.
Any other questions or comments?
No, this is, has to do with the tentative agreement with, so it's negotiated by the employees, so I just don't want it to include what happened in the maintenance department. That's what I want to be sure of, what's going on. And we still have to look at what happened with the you gave us a notice about something with the contract, I don't want to say more than I'm supposed to say, of the allegations that were made about the department. And
Mrs. Brizuela, right now, that is not on the agenda.
I know, but
right
this is
now.
quite similar, so I want to be
It's not
sure.
related to this at all.
Okay.
This is approving the tentative agreement.
Okay, well-
Thank you.
I understand that, but it sure came at the wrong time.
Okay. Yeah, I move that we approve the tentative agreement between Jefferson Elementary School District and CSEA number 233 for the 2018-2019 school year.
Second.
There's a first and a second to approve the tentative agreement. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I did want to make a comment on this, not on Trustee Brucewella's concern. Since we are meeting or going to organize or coordinate a special meeting from your initial request, is that something that you, or Superintendent, is that additional conversation with regards to your concern?
Yeah.
Is that an item that you're bringing up that can be considered during those conversations?
Absolutely.
Perhaps.
Okay,
Okay. I say
It depends
yes.
on scheduling, but yes.
okay, thank you.
Okay, so we just have to present the item to you, and we'll add it on.
If we can
Okay.
get the right people there at the right time. yeah.
Huh?
If we can schedule the right people for the right time.
Okay,
yes.
we got a lot of things to do.
Okay. Next item, item 14H, certificate of appreciation for Mr. Ron Appel, former Personnel Commissioner. The board will consider extending Mr. Ron Appel a certificate of appreciation for his 12 years of service as the board's appointee to the Jefferson Elementary School District's Personnel Commission.
I can give some background on this. At the last Personnel Commission, one of the Personnel Commissioners asked if the board would consider issuing a certificate of appreciation for Mr. Appel's years of service as a Personnel Commissioner, and I let them know that I would bring that forward for your consideration.
Well, I will be honest, my interaction with Commissioner Appel was very limited, but the time that I did have meetings with him were always positive. And I think it's important for us to acknowledge our community members' service. So with that being said, 12 years on our Personnel Commission is quite a long time, and so I do want to make a motion to appropriately commendate his service as a commissioner.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. Next item is item 14J, selecting date for a special meeting on superintendent evaluation form. The board will select a date for a special meeting to finalize the superintendent's evaluation form. The available dates are Monday, April 29th, Wednesday, May 1st, and Monday, May 6th, all at around 6:30 p.m.
Thank you. I'd like to ask for Monday, April 29th.
With that,
Can I ask a question, since we're going to be having another special meeting anyway, can we add it together?
No, I don't think we need to. We can do everything you want to do in one meeting. I think it's 3 separate meetings, actually.
I guess, are there any dates that do not work for everybody?
May 1. The other Mondays work.
Monday the 6th, 6:30, Monday. Well, since this was on the agenda before I asked for special meetings, I just don't want it to go too long with us meeting, having the meetings that I requested as well. So if you can't put these 2 items together, then can we meet during the same week twice? Because they're pretty important things here.
Well, no argument there. We can always find another time to meet for the items that you mentioned. I do not think that we can do them at the same meeting. All the items mentioned are full meetings.
But the special meeting for the evaluation form shouldn't take that long. We already went through it, did we not?
It took us 3 hours at the last meeting, and it should not have taken us that long.
Oh, didn't we already get through most of it?
Yeah, no, I think we need a separate meeting, so I will contact you with other dates to schedule the other meetings.
Oh, so we don't have a choice tonight?
There's still a choice. We need to address this item. Let's finish this item, and then we can address the other one. Either we can have part of the conversation to select a date if you select it early enough. We
Okay,
can have other dates.
let's do something on April 29th.
So we have two then for
Okay.
April 29th.
So-
Mr. Adley, would that work for you as well?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, that works.
Okay, now let's go on and pick another day so we have other issues that are, to me, just as important as anything else.
Mrs. Brizuela, how about this?
How
April
about what?
29th is Monday, right? So on Monday, I can look at my calendar, I can look at Mrs. Kessler's calendar, I can look at other calendars for other people who also need to be at these meetings with the board, and then on Monday, we can have a list of dates for you to select to have other board meetings.
Okay, so right now we are agreeing to the 29th? Okay, down one. So can we ask the board members that are requesting and that we're important to be there as well? What night, is there another day that you would like to go to start working at least on the other item that we wanted?
So what I was just saying is it's not just the board who's at those meetings. I need to be there. These dates work for me. Other staff
All of them
members.
work for you?
All these dates work for me. Yeah. And other staff members, I can't speak to them. I don't know if other people also need to be there. So I do need to check calendars and
Okay,
come
so
up with possibilities. So it's
Let's
just
find out now.
in
who
4
can
more
go to
days we
these
can
dates.
decide.
Okay, I got the.
But this is
Can
this
any
is
of
an
you
extra
meet any of these other
conversation.
days?
I mean, it's not on the agenda to select another date. We've selected a date now.
No, I just said, let's know ahead of time whether anybody here is available, because we would like the whole board to be available. If they can't, then let's know now.
So
That's
May
all.
1st.
Any of those dates do not work.
Are any of those dates sound okay to you, May 6th or May 1st?
You said May
We
1st,
have
is that
a
work for you?
meeting,
Yeah.
right? A board meeting anyway that night on May
Do we?
1st.
No, our next board meeting is May
We don't
8th.
meet on the first.
First.
The second week in the.
So May 1st does not work for Ms. Manio, and somebody mentioned earlier that May
Yeah,
6th
May
does not work.
1st and 6th, both don't work
Okay.
for me.
Okay, that's
That's
all
why
I
I
wanted
chose
to
the
hear.
29th.
Okay,
All right, so those dates are out.
all right, so we will then we need a motion to have a special meeting on Monday, April 29th.
Okay.
I motion to have the special meeting for the superintendent evaluation on Monday, April 29th at 6:30.
Second.
First and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous.
Now, we need another meeting soon, so check with your administration to find out when they're available, but it should be soon. Should be soon.
Next item is item 15C, curriculum adoption updates. Representatives from the Teaching and Learning Department. Sorry. Representatives.
I have to use the bathroom. We never had it.
Representatives from the Teaching and Learning Department and pilot community teachers will share the adoption process for the new middle school history, social science curriculum and the TK5 English Language Arts, English Language Development curriculum. Team will also share an update on ethnic studies and how elements are included in these recommended curriculum adoptions. Good evening.
My name is Jessica Pace, and I am the Program and Director for Teaching and Learning. With me tonight are representatives from our pilot committees, as well as our instructional support teachers, and Greg Concert, our coordinator for the Teaching and Learning Department. We're going to be sharing the presentation tonight. We want you to hear lots of voices, and we'll be sharing with you our process as to how our pilot process went this year for our ELA TK to 5 curriculum and our history social studies, and we have some recommendations we'll be bringing to you this evening.
I'm not next.
Good evening. My name is Karen Hong. I'm an instructional support teacher, and I'm going to be speaking on the goals of the textbook adoption committee. As you know, adopting a adopting a new textbook is a really important process, and the committee was very conscientious of the fact that we want all students to have access to quality instructional materials, and that those materials in English language arts, English language development, and history, social science in our middle schools were consistent with the content and the framework adopted by the California Board of Ed, as well as aligning with the Common Core and the next generation science standards. And so that was one of our goals, was understanding that framework. Another goal that we had in our committees were analyzing data to determine the needs of our students, as well as evaluating the materials through the lens of the district. So we evaluated the materials on its effectiveness, not only on content, but also supporting diversity. Our English language learners, who are comprised of multiple ethnic and linguistic groups, and being sensitive to supporting the diversity and culture for the students in our district. Our final goal was to review the state-approved programs and the pilot materials to ensure that they meet the needs of the students in our district. And the teachers taught lessons, analyzed the instructional tasks and the activities, as well as the content to examine how these materials support students' learning. So we're going to be making some recommendations for the program adoptions. Thank you.
I was right. I got it. New clicker. Not only was the pilot committee thoughtful in its process, but it was well represented by members of this community. There were teacher representatives from every school, both at the middle school level for the history, social studies, and the elementary school level. There were the instructional support teachers. The inclusion specialists were part of that team, making sure we were looking at it through the special ed lens. There were the program coordinators, Greg and Jessica, keeping us going and on task. Student Services Program Director, which I believe is Stephanie Martinez. Many of her counselors were also part of the adoption process. So again, another lens that we're looking through. The Director of Technology participated, Ms. Barone, and the EL Services Program Director, Benjamin Mosier. So a very well-rounded committee of people. Thank you.
Some of them are still seated. If anybody who's part of this wants to stand up, those on the committee, please join us. So when we started on this process at the beginning of the year, we started in October, and we formed a committee out of all of those people that Ms. Cummings just discussed. We had a kickoff meeting for both the ELA-ELD committee for elementary and the middle school history social sciences committee at the beginning of the year. And then they spent 2 days being presented with all of the California state adopted programs. And out of those days, they selected 2 programs in TK, ELA, ELD, and 2 programs in middle school history and social studies that they wanted to pilot for a 6-week period. So in the elementary school ELA, ELD, we selected National Geographic Reach for Reading and Benchmark Advance as 2 programs we wanted to look at. And in middle school history and social sciences, we also selected National Geographic California History and TCI, which is, as you know, is the program that we currently have. They had made additions to pass the state adoptions and added technology to their program. So we were then trained. Our teachers did 1-day trainings on each of these programs and taught 6-week units from both of these programs. The first window was from November through January, where they were teaching National Geographic Reach for Reading in elementary school and TCI in middle school. And then in the spring, we got the ELA, ELD teachers got trained on Benchmark Advanced and taught a 6-week unit. And the middle school history, social sciences were trained on National Geographic, California history, and they taught a 6-week unit. So these were 2 processes going on at the same time. And in the last few weeks, we have met and we voted on the programs that we wanted to recommend to the board for district approval. In the meantime, Ms. Pace and I went to the PIAC and DLAC informational meetings to present these curriculum to the parents. And we have sent out an info letter to families and staff about the programs we've chosen, and we put materials up on display at the district office for everybody to come look at. And we are here today to recommend two curriculum to you all. So
Good evening. I want to highlight some of the strengths that are in the program that we are recommending, Benchmark Advance. So it is a K6, for our purposes K5. It builds and deepens content knowledge within and across the content levels. The text for close reading, it's engineered for interactive learning, so students are annotating daily in their consumable books based on text that they're reading in class. The unit subtopics, the units focus on one topic at a time, and they build on each other throughout the 3 weeks that they're studying the unit. They're backwards mapping. The unit was looked at with week 3 in mind, so week 1 and week 2 are building towards student success within those units. Small group instruction is a major component of this particular program, and it's allowing for differentiation. Writing, students are writing every single day, and every week they're working on a different genre towards that unit, and doing a progress piece to that. The integrated and designated ELD portion is, they do a really good job of reinforcing the skills and the subtopics that are being looked at within the text and the standards, and they're keeping it grade level appropriate. And lastly, Benchmark Universe is their online platform, so that's where teachers have an opportunity to pull everything digitally as well.
And so looking at the two bar graphs in front of you, looking at the overall ratings, we surveyed 181 students, and also all teachers and staff that were involved with the pilot. And you can see from the bar graph the excellent and the very good that Benchmark Advanced came out with. Very clear.
So as was mentioned, we were also piloting for a new history social studies curriculum. Yay, I believe they've had their old books for, I think, 14 years. And so that was very exciting for them, for the history social studies teachers for middle school to get a chance to look at new curriculum. What is interesting is they chose to stay with TCI, which was our old curriculum, but they really felt like with some of the changes that were implemented in the new program, it still was the strongest one. Especially, there's an online component that's very strong. I know, and there's been some updates in some of the curriculum to, especially in 6th and 7th grade, for cultural relevance and ethnic studies. Student engagement is very high. There are many, many activities that are simulations. I was involved in one in a classroom with a middle school teacher where students were having to vote on the Constitution. And one of the things that's really important to note is that even though this is a familiar curriculum that has been around a long time, it is now aligned with the Common Core state standards, especially, in literacy. One of the reasons that, well, two of the reasons that the teachers chose this was, one, that they felt like the reading was more rigorous than the other program, and that it had more literacy opportunities. So, thank you.
What's next? This way?
So as with the ELA and ELD curriculum, we wanted to give opportunity for input for as many different groups as possible. And as you can see, we also surveyed the students for as to how they felt about the TCI, the History Social Studies curriculum. So this is these are the two graphs showing the results to the answer to what is your overall rating of this program. And you can see students were enthusiastic, probably more enthusiastic even than teachers and staff.
Yeah.
So as we know, at the heart of this whole process of selecting new curricula are the teachers and of course the students. So I'm here to give a little bit of voice to some of the student feedback that we received. So 2 comments that we received, as you can see in front of you. The most valuable part of this program to me was that it challenged me. The challenging questions required a lot of thinking, and I was able to develop my way of thinking because of those questions.
Very good.
We're also very fortunate and grateful tonight to have 3 of our pilot teachers volunteer to share their experiences with these curricula. So you're going to hear from Lissa Robinson, 2nd grade teacher at Susan B. Anthony, as well as Justin Boone, 5th grade teacher at Thomas Edison, and Jack Diogi, 7th grade history and social science at Fernando Rivera.
Hi, me again. I signed on to do this pilot, A, because I'm passionate about curricula, 2, because as previously stated, I needed more money. My kids really liked the benchmark, and so I teach 2nd grade, so I had them tell you what they liked, so I'll have them speak rather than myself. Benchmark, I like it because it's not big. I will explain that. The Nat Geo book was approximately the size of I don't know, a large dictionary. So for a 2nd grader that weighs approximately 30 pounds to pull it out onto their desk, it was like, whoa. And then for a 2nd grader to try and find page 438 was pretty difficult. These books are broken up into units, so the largest page number they have to find is about 52, so that's great. I like the benchmark books because I can write in them. That was a big hit. I like writing in the book. I like these books because I like learning new things in the book. I like learning about fiction and nonfiction stories. So I have to say, when I started the pilot, I was a little apprehensive about this because it looked a little meaty. But the kids like the stories, so that's good. I like it when it teaches you about different types of places. I liked learning about habitats. I liked animals in the habitats. My favorite was the tundra. She wouldn't have known what a tundra was 3 weeks ago. I like Benchmark because it has different books. I like the little books, which are the leveled readers. I like the monkey books, which is the reader, Jessica. And I like the Reader's Theater book. They've made readers' theaters that are on level for the whole class. So the high kids and the lowest kids can all have a part in the play, and they don't know that they're high or low. They just all think they're in the play. So it's kind of nice. I like to read the folk tales. I like Stone Soup, Another Stone Soup, which is a folk tale in there. I like the monkey book because I like highlighting the words that are my spelling words. So it's reading, but they have to find all their spelling words, and I let them do it with a highlighter, which is a hit. I like to do the activities. I like reading and writing, and I like reading because it makes everyone smart.
Very good. Very good.
They liked it.
So just to continue on with Lisa Robinson's assessment, I too felt like this was not really a textbook, it was a consumable. And to me, Benchmark Advance was the next level that the kids are going to consume and take in information. They're not going to memorize, they're not going to recite facts. They're really going to process and develop skills and strategies to go to each level that's going to be demanded. In 5th grade, they were already reading the preamble of the United States in Unit 1 of the United States Constitution. They're reading prominent historical writers of Frederick Douglass and also E.B. White and Langston Hughes, and processing really meaningful content and looking at different perspective, different lens with a different goal in mind. The assessment was really uplifting to me because it wasn't recall and retention. It was really showing the strategies and how they're applying that through complex text and a variety of text. It's not just nonfiction and fiction, poetry, and also nonfiction graphs, sources, and actually questioning these things that are relevant to common themes and also big ideas that hopefully they can understand and how it affects them. And I know that we see this big word rigor. To me, challenge is what I like. And without a challenge, then things become boring. And that is really a profound statement that you need a challenge in order to make progress. And so this is where we're going to have success over time. And the kids will have that attitude and effort, will make great progress at their level. The 21st century and what's the next level as we see this online component, we can adapt it to any level with the same theme, with these big ideas that they can connect at any grade level. More importantly, this content is accessible with online applications or even give them a hard physical copy. The fact that it's small, they feel they can manage. The fact that it's hard, we're here to help them, and we're going to give them the skills to feel successful. And that's the part we are going to be the facilitators, the coaches, the mentors on these skills and strategies that are high school and college level at 5th grade, where they are reading and just like Lisa said, they're writing the book. That's kind of like, wait, no, we got to say this. It's consumable. They take in what they know and they share and they digress, or make progress, which is really great to see. And that's the part that really I like is I just say, hey, this is how we want to learn. You try. And we work together for that. And I've seen a lot of progress in these complex topics of United States Constitution, monocrop and cultivation versus crop rotation, and now we're dealing with perspective of, so we're talking about corn, which is, and food. Everyone eats food. These big ideas that are really powerful and I feel meaningful, and the kids actually are enjoying this challenge. So that's really cool to see.
Thank you.
That's
a lot of talking. So I think the biggest strength for the TCI series for the middle school are the activities, because they allow students to access the curriculum at a level that they can understand. It puts them in a simulation. It could be a debate, a simulation. In the 6th grade, I've taught each of the grades, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And in the 6th grade, they might take a simulation of a tour down the Nile River with the sound of the water rolling by, and a tour guide telling them about the sights that they're about to see. And then we make stops, and then we look at placards of archaeological digs, and they might write notes about it or do a puzzle about it. And it gets them engaged, it gets them interested. In the 7th grade, we just did an activity on medieval China and the inventions and discoveries of medieval China and how they affected not just China but Europe, and how there's still connections with that history with us today. In the 8th grade, we did a debate on but on whether the 13 colonies should declare independence against England. And each student got a role to play, and it was from different viewpoints, from women, from African Americans, from historical figures that were alive at the time. So I think that's the strength of it. They added a geography component to the 8th grade, which I think is very good. And so I think it's a pretty well-rounded curriculum, and I think it was our best choice, and I think that's why we chose that. And I have to say, I have a connection with 4 of the 5 board members here. I went to high school with, I called you Fo back then. And then Mr. Koo went to our school. Miss Brizuela, I used to serve you at Bank of America when I was a teller.
Oh, don't tell them if it bounced.
And you iced a cake for career day for my students.
Right.
And then Mr. Ali was a sub at our school. So, and Ms. Manio, I'm sure at some point we'll cross paths. So.
Well, she's only been here a short time.
Yeah. So anyway, that's it. Thank you.
All right. Oh, and we've had this book for 14 years, so it's about time for us to change.
All right, well, I don't think I have a personal connection with any of you, but I would love to have a cake frosted or something. All right,
Call me.
Moving forward, looking ahead, first I want to say adopting a new curriculum is really hard. I should say implementing new curriculum is really hard. Even our most superhero teachers need support. And what we've seen with the successful rollout this year of the K-5 math and middle school language arts is that effective implementation requires effective support. So the plan going forward is, of course, providing professional development opportunities. We hope to offer one day, the first day in June or August, with the second professional development day in the first day of returning teachers' school calendar, so that August 16th. So 2 full-day professional development to learn the new curriculum. And then probably, maybe most importantly, is that ongoing training throughout the year. Institute days, the instructional support teachers work with teachers during staff meetings, during early release Wednesdays. We meet with teams, we meet with individuals, just really trying to make sense of lessons, understand the arc of a unit, what role do assessments play, how do we differentiate, how do we bring curriculum to life. And just wanted to mention, I know it's been a concern of the board, it's certainly been a concern of our department and teachers all around, is the new ethnic studies curriculum that the state of California will provide in 2020 as a supplement for K-8 to the history social studies curriculum. Okay. That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Any any questions or comments before you guys sit down?
Just a comment. Thank you for all the collaboration and the teamwork. Even in presenting tonight, you all took your roles. And I know it's important that you have a curriculum that you really like and that's effective with the students. So I'm looking forward to seeing the results of the good teaching that you're going to do.
Well, I want to thank you for coming as well, and it was really great listening to all of you. It kept my attention from the beginning to the end.
Yep.
And I just want to say, when you're doing something and you want us to drop by, tell us. We'll come by and see it somewhat in action. But
Relation. Yeah, I want to see one of those.
yeah, but I mean, I can just tell by everything that you said and just watching your expressions that you guys really love this. And I think if you all love it, and you really studied it, and you saw how it works, it's going to work here. It's going to be nothing but the best. Thank you for taking the extra time from your schedules. We know how busy all of you are, but doing all of this is making it work. So thank you so much, and I love this part of the meeting. This is great. So, this is wonderful. Thank you so much.
I share the same sentiment. I just want to thank you all for coming and sharing this with us, and I truly appreciate all of the stories that you were telling us, and I would love to come and see it in action, and very excited for the new ethnic studies curriculum to come out, so I can't wait. Thank you, guys.
I had to take a picture of this dynamic team standing because I want to post about you.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's important that we share that greatness. I love hearing the comments and the feedback from the students. Mm-hmm. And so you speak to the curriculum that you have chosen, and you speak to what you will be using and accessing to share with the students. But I think a big part of that success, and everyone's being very modest, is the transference of the energy and the ownership and the inclusion that each of you have taken, because that's what's making it work with the students. It's one thing to embrace a curriculum and say, this is what we need to do. But the fact that we're getting the feedback, there's magic happening, and that starts from somewhere. So it's starting with you, and there's a level of transference that's going to the kids. And that's amazing, because I know when I came on board, I heard new curriculum, ethnic studies, and change takes time. And we're hearing about implementation. Implementation is tough. It's not easy. So the greatness that we're seeing this evening, I am confident that we're going to continue to see it through the implementation, and I know that supporting each other is going to be key to have continued success. But I'm so excited. I'm so excited, and I love the work. I mean, I've worked closely with Ms. Pace, and so it's no surprise to me to see the energy. And then, sorry, Jack, I'll refer to him as Jack. He was actually, I don't know, amazing in baseball player. And I and active alumnus at Lowell. So, I mean, I appreciate all the action that's happening. And thank you so much. We're looking forward to visiting when things get rolling.
I just also just want to echo colleagues to say thank you for coming tonight and for all your hard work in helping us select 2 curriculums to help our kids actually get a better education. So I just want to say thank you, as well as to all the people on the committee who helped do this work and put a great job together. So thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Yep. So the next items are related to this topic. So I'll read it.
Yeah, you got it? Okay.
So the next item is item 15D, English Language Arts, English Language Development Curriculum Adoption. The selection committee met on April 18, 2019. The administration recommends adoption of the English Language Arts, English Language Development instructional materials selected by the committee, and that one was Benchmark Advance.
So they met.
They met a little bit under a week ago.
Okay.
And they made their selection on that last Thursday. But the agenda was published at noon. And we didn't want to do all the reformatting and everything that had to happen. Because, yeah.
We don't get a show again? No?
What was that?
We don't get them to tell us about it?
Oh, no, they just told you about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crossed out there.
Oh, I see. So we're not going to include this one?
They met already.
Yeah.
So we would need a motion and a
I
second.
move that
Oh,
we
I see what
approve
you
the language arts development curriculum. That's it.
It would be
second
TK to
motion.
5 for Benchmark Advance, yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
So we have a first from Mr. Ali and a second from Mrs. Brizuela.
yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous.
Okay.
Next item is item 15E, TCI History Social Science Curriculum Adoption. The administration recommends adoption of the following History Social Science instructional materials. History Alive, 6th to 8th grade, published by TCI.
I'd like to motion that we adopt the curriculum as suggested from the administration of the following history, social science, instructional materials of History Alive, published by TCI.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you again for all your hard work. Next item is item 16C, agreement with Sodexo for consulting management services of food service operation for 2019-2020. The administration recommends approval of the final year's contract renewal with Sodexo for consulting management services for the district's food service operation for the 2019-2020 school year. District will submit a revised RFP, evaluate responses, and make a recommendation for a newly selected provider beginning with the 2020-2021 school year.
Is it, see?
Yeah, so this is the final year of the 5-year agreement with Sodexo, and as Mr. Koo mentioned, we will be engaging in a process soliciting proposals from interested parties to help us provide our food services to our students for beginning in the 2020-21 school year.
Oh, I'm sorry, but this is for, are we approving it for the 19th to 20th?
Correct. It's the 5th year of the 5-year agreement. Mhm.
Okay, so then you say that the district will submit a revised RFP. Is that, we're opening it up for anybody else?
Yes, every 5 years we open it up.
Make sure that we do that.
I have a question. So this says that their contract will end January 2020, but they'll be, right? Because
End of the 2020 school year.
No, it's for the full
end of
school year. It goes
2020
through
school year.
June 30th.
Thank you.
Yep.
Because the school year is from
Yeah.
September on, August on.
I had a question. I wanted to ask of the superintendent. I think this process started when I had first gotten appointed, and it's not a unique issue that a lot of the kids, I mean, I see it at Head Start, I see it at my kids' school, where the kids are very wasteful. I mean, sometimes they don't even attempt to eat the food. But I do know that we see so many new things, a lot of innovation around the country that's happening around lunch programs. With that being said, I wanted to ask, what level of involvement does the board have in engaging with the vendors? I mean, I think we had food tasting. I missed all that when I came on the board. This was already in place, so I wanted to ask what that was.
And I apologize, Ms. Kessler's not here. She's crawling her way out of a 5 or 6 day cold and has problems not coughing. So
Or it could be answered at a
want. No,
future-
and we will. I did speak to her about it. The process for vendor selection she did express to me that it has gotten very micromanaged from the state level. And so she's going to spend the summer to learn about what changes have come into play since the last time we engaged with vendors, and is prepared to give some kind of a presentation to the board in the fall, one of the fall meetings, to give you sort of an overview of here's what the path forward is, and what the district plans to do, and what components we have control over and what we do not. The last time we went through this, there was a lot more district-based control in terms of what we feel is important. She did not think that there was going to be that much that the state is tightening down, is what the words that she used, in terms of criteria and evaluation criteria and committee formation. But she was going to learn about that over the summer so that we could be prepared to set out an RFP in early January.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to make a comment on it. I hope that we get several companies that are applying, that we do get to see what it is, because sometimes they're not giving the kids what they've told us they're going to give them. And we need to make sure, because when I go into the schools sometimes and I happen to see what's happening, they're getting canned food. They're getting stuff that is not what is supposed to be given to them. So I know part of it has to do with the stuff that we get from the state that goes towards the children that get assistance in their lunches. And so they're giving us stuff that is not acceptable. So that we better do something better for our children.
So yeah, we'll share what that process looks like. There are requirements.
And I wouldn't eat half of that food.
Yeah, there are requirements that we use commodities, which I think is what you're referring to. Federal list of federal food items that we use to make our food.
Maybe we ought to contact the federal government and let them know how bad the food is.
Well, good luck.
I'd be happy to.
Can I make?
No, I'm serious.
I don't even know who our cabinet secretary for health and for food service would be, but we probably. I said I don't know if we have a secretary for health and human services right now.
There's somebody in charge of everything.
Yeah. Anyway, we could do that. Yeah, like I said, it is in cursory review is a much different process than we engaged in 5 years ago, and we're learning more about it over the summer and having conversations with.
That would be good. I mean, definitely is a huge contract, and the quality of the program, I mean, would be good to understand. And again, I think we're all very aware that this is not a unique problem to our district. It exists everywhere. But I definitely would like to challenge our board and our district, our administrators, to be a little bit more proactive. I don't know, honestly, I don't know. There's just so many things out there, but I don't know how we could even implement something to improve that, because I also understand that there aren't a lot of vendors. I mean, we think there are, but there aren't a lot of vendors that do a lot of this vending to school districts as they're used to. There's not a pool of vendors that there used to be, so unfortunately.
Yeah, because the requirements have gotten stricter.
Right.
The other aspect not unique to our district, but certainly something that needs to be considered, is that any vendor needs to agree to use our facilities and our staff to prepare the food. And so some vendors don't do that. They like to prepare their food off-site and bring it in. And then the other consideration, which I think would be important for Ms. Kessler to probe with you, is to what extent is the board willing to help subsidize the quality of food? And we would do that in the fall to get a sense of, because we could provide really great quality food, but it's not going to be covered by the federal reimbursement. And our families may not even be able to afford the cost that some districts have for lunch is like $6 a meal. And ours right now is one of the lowest in the county. I think is it $2.25 or a meal? $2.35? Yeah. So it's among the lowest in the county for providing food, compared to $6 for a fresh meal with fresh. I mean, if the board wanted to, I think our reimbursement is $1.75 a meal or something like that. So to make that $5 difference.
Can I make a
If it
few?
lands in the garbage can, it's not doing us any good, is it?
Well-
Or do the kids any good?
Yes, so I think it's just, and we'll go through all this with the board in the fall as we review the RFP, just to get a sense of what is the board's willingness to have ongoing funds go towards subsidizing a meal program.
Can I make a few comments? Has anybody here ever ate one of our school lunches?
Oh, my God. I got sick after I ate one.
They're disgusting. So I don't blame our kids for throwing half of it in the trash.
I've eaten some of them. I don't eat them all, but I have eaten some.
I accept your challenge and have already done something about it. This was actually the main reason why I applied to be on the board, because I used to work for Sodexo, so I know that corporation very well and their practices. They have been sued by LA Unified School District for overcharging. They've been sued by a district in Canada, the UK, several. They're worldwide, and they don't just do school districts, they do prisons, universities, all institutions, including the Marriott, which is why I know them really well. So I did a little bit of research. Marin changed their vendor to an all-organic local, which is not going to work for us. I realize that. And their actual, statistically, kids getting food lunch from the school has actually gone down because of that. So I did reach out to a company in the East Bay called Conscious Kitchen, and they don't... and I'd like for them to be a part of the RFP process, but it's something where they develop the infrastructure of the program with our school leaders, and then train our staff, and it's where we learn how to source fresh organic meals and how to prepare them in our schools, but it's owned and operated by our school and fully compliant with USDA.
That's great, and I think, we should definitely make them aware when the RFP comes out, because we have to make it available to anybody who is out there, to make it an equal proposal process. So definitely when that gets ready, we will know more in the fall about when that rolls out. But right now, we do have one more year with Sodexo, and no contract terms changed, just figures were updated to represent the demographics of our community as they shifted from one year to the next, the number of students that we have. So some of the guarantees shift and change with the number of students enrolled. So.
Mr. Vidales, did I hear you say that part of some of the new changes required by the government would be that we have a committee set up?
That was the process in the last two times that we've gone through this, and like I said, we're learning what the requirements are going forward. Likely that will still be allowed and encouraged, because one person can't make this decision. It does need to be more than one.
This hand bring food to, we don't taste it.
Well, when we enter that process, we can decide what we want to
Yes,
ask
I think if we can't eat it, then we know our kids shouldn't eat it.
I just want to remind everyone, though, that there have been food tastings, and
I know.
so I just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
We weren't at that time expressing revulsion towards the food. So we should be more honest than when we have another food tasting.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's great we're talking about this, and I know we're still vested for another year. And with that being said, I would like to make the motion, but I do look forward to Ms. Kessler sharing her, with us the process, because a year goes by fast, and hopefully we will take on the task to do more research and support her. And I do want to also mention that we also have to be mindful that while we might find vendors that we think are awesome, we also have to consider that they might not have the capacity to serve, our district, and that's the reality that we may find. But with that being said, I do want to make a motion to approve the agreement with Sodexo for consulting management services of food operation for 2019-20.
Second.
First and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That was unanimous.
So do we, yeah, okay. Just last year. Aye.
Next item is item 17A. 17H, cost information for the sale of the Jefferson Elementary School District election of 2018 Geo Bond Series A. Let me see what that was.
Yep, so good news, and this is something I learned, and I didn't know. Last July, when the board was considering whether or not to put a bond on the ballot, and you were discussing how much is it going to cost the district, how much it says extra, we already had the board election on there. So I thought that cost was going to be closer to $12,000 or so. We did get the bill last month, and it was about $12,000 more than if we just had the board election, and primarily that's for the duplication of all the pamphlets with all the extra ballot language and the translations. But here's the good news. So when you have a bond election, not the principal, not that we get, but there's something called fees and stuff. I don't know, the financial industry has things, but they reimburse the district for the cost of the election out of those fees. So really, our election only cost us $3,000 because we had, out of the $60,000, because we had a geo bond that passed at that election. So we saved $57,000 by having a general obligation bond on the ballot.
So that's extra money for us.
That's only if the bond measure wins?
If the bond measure passes, yes. If it hadn't passed, it would have been an extra $12,000 above just the board election. So something to think about for future bonds, and I will not forget that. I'll know it next time. But anyway, so it really did not cost the district anything to run this election and to sell the bonds, and then we just have to report it out to the public.
And it's just information. So.
It's just information, yep.
Okay. Next item is item 17A, certificated personnel. Certificated retirements 2018-2019. The administration recommends approval of the retirement request from Patricia Tom, RSP teacher at Susan B. Anthony, effective June 15th, 2019. Ms. Tom has been employed by the district since September 21st, 1987. The administration also requests an appropriate resolution be prepared commending Ms. Tom for her years of service with the district.
I'll make a motion that we approve the retirement request from Patricia Tom, RSP teacher at SBA, and that effective June 15, 2019, and that a appropriate resolution be prepared commending her for her many years of service with the district.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, Ms. Tom, in your retirement. Next item is item 18A, retirement classified personnel. The administration recommends approval of the retirement request from the following classified employee and request an appropriate resolution be prepared commending him for his years of service with the district. Bruce Erickson, Information Technology Manager, effective June 28th, 2019. Date of hire was May 18th, 2004.
Wow. So, very important guy.
Move that we approve the retirement request from Bruce Erickson, effective 6/28/2019, and that an appropriate resolution be prepared commending him for his years of service with the district.
Second.
So first and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous, and congratulations to your retirement, Mr. Erickson.
They're gonna sure miss him.
Next item is item 18C, job description revision for the information technology manager. The administration recommends approval of the updated job description for the information technology manager. Did you want to talk about that?
So, as you saw, Mr. Erickson has been with us for quite some time, and technology has changed since 2004. So, while the job title, salary, and general description changes needed to be applied, the new updated job description needed to be put onto that job description for putting it out for getting somebody to fill that position. So we presented you with changes in the representative duties. That's really only where any changes have been applied. And we request that the board take that into consideration and approve it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
How much of it has changed from the last one? What are the new things that was added in?
It's within the context of the representative duties. There was a lot more of things related to actually printing things that were just really perfunctory technology duties. Things have really changed in terms of, I don't have the specific one that I can point out, but in terms of just the access to the technology, working with, now we have the school to home programs, it's just a much broader department. And prior to that, it was just the two guys in there that were doing the position.
Right.
So it's, but in terms of the qualifications, the job title, all of that remains the same, the salary.
And, so the salary is here?
I don't believe it's on here.
I didn't think I saw it.
It's the same
That's
as it
not
was.
on the job
Nothing's-
description. But nothing's changing.
No, but
Yeah.
we usually get some information if the job's going to change that much, at what level it's going to be. So I'm just wondering when that's going to transpire. Because we have to agree to a salary.
The salary's not changing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh,
The
you didn't say
salary-
that.
Yeah, I did.
Well, you said, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Okay, so the salary hasn't changed, just the duties have.
Yes.
So-
The duties.
So you just added individual things, or is it the level has changed?
I think,
Still
the-
supervisor?
yeah, everything is the same. It's just updating the language on the duties because the functions and tasks of an information technology manager in 2004 are very different from the functions and tasks of today. We have wireless routers. We used to have hardwire routing. Things like that. There was a lot of printing that happened before. There's less of that now. So we just wanted to update it so that potential applicants know what they're signing up for, and we can assess whether or not they're qualified.
So has the education or license, has anything down below here changed at all?
Nothing has changed except some of the
So I wanted to kind of compare
even the
it.
duties didn't really change. They were just updated language.
Okay.
Yeah. The verbs,
Okay.
essentially.
Okay. So I just wanted to see why we're approving it again, or what's new about it, so. All right. When you get a time, can I have an old one so I can I get the old one when you have a chance? All right.
I move that we approve the updated job description for the information technology manager.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 That was unanimous. Next item is under 19A, Board Policies Administrative Regulations. October 2018 CSBA Board Policy Revisions, second reading. The board will review and revise Board Policy Administrative Regulations from October 2018 CSBA Board Policy Revisions as stated in a second reading. Any comments or updates from the first reading? Anybody? If not, I'll entertain
I
a
know
motion.
that this is the president's most favorite part of his duties as a board trustee. And with that being said,
I was like, the binders are pretty much as big as like this old textbooks.
I'd like to motion that we approve the Board Policies Administrative Regulations of October 2018 CSBA Board Policy Revisions, second reading.
Second.
First and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those unanimous.
I know they're passing legislation now. I think it's.
Yes,
Mr. Ting's
our
office.
July policy update book will probably be big. So we are up to date now. I think I just gave Mr. Koo the March 2019 book.
It's quite a big book.
So, and
But I'm just saying, is I've just heard that Senator Ting, that he's been, that there's some new legislation that's coming out about charter schools, and they're really working that it's taking too much away from public schools, and that they're not meeting all of the requirements. So we probably will hear about that soon. I'm glad that they're investigating that, because it is hurting, taking kids away from our schools. And they want to call themselves public schools, but they're not. So finally, someone's doing something about it.
Next item is item 20, governance team member comments, reports, and reflections on governance team meeting guidelines.
So tonight, I focused on we will lead and communicate openly, and that's why I listened at the time where we're supposed to listen and not respond. And at this time in the meeting, though, I do want to say that when we're in these open meetings, it's good to show empathy and support, but we also have to do it in our closed meetings when we're actually going over the budget and making decisions, and that I would hope that would be consistent when we're in our closed meetings and in our open meetings.
I agree. So, again, I'll just say I listened actively and communicated openly, probably more than somebody wanted to hear. But it's because that's exactly what I want people to know, that we're listening, and it's important that we not just be not saying anything at all, and hope that we can make a difference in our district so everybody is happy and everybody will be able to survive working with us. This binder is way thick. You're going to want this back, right? Because you got that section in there.
I also chose that. So it was definitely important for us to let everybody know here that that's exactly what we do, that we do listen and that we do hear, and that we communicate that openly to the people that take the time to come to these meetings. And, that they could be spending it with their families or doing other important things. So I think that's really important to let them know that we are actively listening to them. That's all.
I agree. That's a great guideline to pick. I chose we will keep our focus on the best interests of our students, and I continue to think that we do that. And I agree. I think time is such a precious commodity. So I appreciate everyone that attends and who watches these board meetings and contributes in every way that they can. With that said, I also wanted to extend my apologies for missing our last meeting. Life has been crazy, and that's why I reflect on time being such a precious commodity. Last week, one of the reasons I missed was he was, in his early years, a product of this district, and I know that the city council had closed their meeting out in honor of my nephew, who we buried on Monday, and then Wednesday I buried a cousin, and then on Saturday buried an aunt. So it's just been really taxing, and so to hear of the strains that are impacting our district staff. I mean, it really hits home because it's, you want to improve the quality of life amongst ourselves, but it's tough when you're feeling those stressors. So my words are to just continue to encourage each other and to make the best of the moments that we're given. I mean, despite the challenges, to just continue to embrace the goodness of those times. And with that being said, on May 1st, as many of you may or may not know, is the beginning of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I have a nonprofit called Pacific Islander Community Partnership, and our motto is engage, empower, and educate Pacific Islanders. And on that day, Supervisor Canepa has co-sponsored an event where we're honoring 100 Polynesians in Northern California that are educators, professors, public officials, who are the only ones that do what they do here in Northern California. So we speak to ethnic studies, we speak to diversity, and what I want to do is extend the invitation to the board and anyone attending this evening, if you'd like to join us at the Colma Community Center at 10 a.m. to 12:30. For brunch, you're more than welcome. I understand that's class time, but definitely if someone has time to come by, we would definitely love to have you and kick off some AAPI Heritage Month Polynesian style. Thank you.
Could you?
May 1st.
Could you tell me, I was looking for my pen.
May 1st.
May 1st,
Which is next Wednesday.
Wednesday, and tell me the time again?
10 a.m.?
10 a.m. At the community center?
Yeah.
Colma?
Colma.
Great site.
Thank you.
Thank you. I selected "We will listen actively and communicate openly," and I believe we did that today. And then lastly, item 21, adjournment. We're going to close in memory of a former staff member, Ms. Lorraine Young. She was a retirement special education teacher at Fernando Vera Intermediate School from 1979 to 2017. So I will, if we ask for a moment of silence, please.
Sure. Stephen Histake.
I'll defer to Ms. Manufo.
It's Japanese someone, so thank you. I'll share that.
I'll ask for a moment of silence for both of those individuals tonight. Meeting adjourned.